Hey everybody, you unfortunately are about to find me less interesting in living color than by reading what I type on a page. Sorry. Hey everybody, how we doing out on Dabs? Got to dedicate this episode to Mr. George Daly. George, you asked for members of the firearms community to contribute and you complimented us for doing so already. Here we go. Today I'm going to try to talk about concealed carry. I'm going to do my best to cover as many major considerations for concealed carry as I can come up with. I've been concealed carrying for a little over about 6 years now, I think. And some things that I've found that have been important to me. Concealed carry is its own niche in the gun community. Typically, when you think of concealed carry, you think of something smaller, like a small revolver, a small semi-auto type of gun. Doesn't necessarily have to be, one of the smaller types of guns. That's generally what you find, and what when you talk about a concept, philosophy of use. I didn't come up with that term. I owe that term to Nut and Fancy. He is one of the most popular gun community YouTube channels out on YouTube. Look him up. You'll like what you see. He does gun reviews, gun demonstrations, and he always talks about philosophy of use. And concealed carry is one of those philosophies of use. So, some things you have to do kind of leading into, do I want to conceal carry? You have some things to think about. So, first of all, you need to do a threat assessment. Where do I live? What types of neighborhoods do I go through? Where do I commute? Do I ride public transportation? Do I drive my own car? My employment. Where do I have to go? What type of retail establishments do I go into? Do I have to go through neighborhoods that are dangerous? Or, what's my own personal threat assessment? You need to answer those questions very, very honestly. It's going to determine everything else that you do going forward. So, typically, most of us are going to fall into a lower threat assessment category. Most of us are going to be, hopefully live in safer neighborhoods or safer areas where we don't have to put our lives in line every day just going to work. But some of us will. Some of us will have a higher risk category. So if you're in a higher risk category, you're going to want a gun with higher capacity, obviously. You might have a favorite caliber. You might want a 40. You might want a 45. You might want a 357. You might have your own personal preference over some of those things, and that's fine. But do an honest, sincere risk evaluation. Even look at crime statistics in your neighborhood, the places you go. Figure out what the threats are. What's the highest crime where I'm at? Is it car theft? Is it rape? Is it assault? What is it? And do a very honest threat assessment for where you live. And you may have a preference for a certain type of gun, a certain caliber, but if you do a very honest threat assessment, you may find that that's not what you need. So you have to be honest with yourself. National statistics, just for fun. Here's some national statistics. I looked at an FBI crime study several years ago when I was looking at possibly concealed carrying, and here's what I found. Of course, this study is a little bit older. Probably have newer studies out now. But back when I was doing my research, 92%, 93% of all violent crimes against the general public, and particularly situations where a law-abiding citizen had a firearm to defend themselves with. 92% approximately, it might have been 93% of those types of attacks. As soon as the law-abiding citizen just simply displayed the gun, they didn't touch the gun, they didn't draw it from the holster, they didn't pull it out, they just simply, maybe they didn't even do that, maybe they just said, yelled at the guy, dude, you better back off, I've got a gun, or maybe they, pulled the shirt back, so you could see the gun, maybe they didn't say anything. Just that type of action alone was enough to, the bad guy's like, hey man, I'm out, thanks for the warning, see ya, that kind of thing. So now we're down to about 8%. And out of that remaining 8% of attacks against people who defended themselves with a firearm legally, about 60% of those, so I'm just going to say 5, okay? That may be inaccurate, but 4 or 5 out of that remaining 8%. 60% of those people, as soon as the law-abiding citizen displayed the firearm in a threatening or intimidating way, maybe they drew the gun, maybe they pulled the gun up, had it, pointed, or maybe even just, close to the body, in a manner that demonstrated, I've got a gun, and if you come any closer, I'm going to use it. 60% of those bad guys said, I'm out, see ya, thanks for the warning, bye. So now we're down to, let me say 3%, okay? So that remaining 3% of attacks, when the law-abiding citizen pointed the gun at the bad guy, and on average, FBI numbers, not mine, on average, fired 2, the most 3 shots, was over with. And that doesn't even say that the bad guy got hit with bullets. That's just a couple shots going down range. In a lot of those cases, the bad guy actually did get hit and was taken to the hospital or died. But in a minority of those cases, sometimes the bad guy didn't even get hit. He saw the gun, he saw he heard the noise, and took off running, ran off. So there you go. There's some real numbers for you. So it kind of puts a concealed carry in perspective now, doesn't it? When you realize that capacity, according to the FBI, is not such a big deal, then it kind of justifies the small, 5-shot 38 special revolver, or the 357, or maybe even a small semi-automatic that holds 5, 6, 7 rounds, something like that. It kind of justifies the concealed carry philosophy of use. Again, do your own threat assessment. Evaluate your neighborhood, your city, the places you go, the things you do, and evaluate whether or not you need to carry a bigger gun. And for me, my threat assessment's low, so for me, the concealed carry, typically the smaller gun, was a perfect fit for my threat level. Now, just so you know, I have several guns, and threat assessment is something I do on an ongoing basis. Some places I go, I feel like I'm in a higher threat condition. So if I go somewhere where I feel like I'm in a higher threat condition, then I'm going to carry one of my bigger guns. I'm going to carry one of my guns that holds 17 rounds, and I'm going to carry an extra magazine. So there you go. Do your threat assessment and decide, what size, what capacity, what caliber of gun you feel is appropriate for you. So then we really, the majority of us are probably going to be in the low threat category. So then you get into size and weight, a smaller gun. There's a wide variety of small revolvers out there. There's a wide variety of small semi-automatics. There's a wide variety of calibers. I'm not getting into the caliber wars. Some of you guys are hung up on, 9mm. It's got to be 45 or 38 or 357. Some of you guys are really hung up on one particular, caliber of bullet. I'm not. Not for purposes of this discussion, anyway. I'll put it that way. Not for purposes of this discussion. So, you can find a variety of small, concealable, lightweight handguns, that are 22, 25 ACP, 32 ACP, 380, 9mm, 40, 45, 357, 357 SIG, 38 Special, 10mm, variety of calibers, to suit what you feel is appropriate. So another thing you got to consider too is when you get into the smaller concealed carry guns. A small concealed carry gun is a compromise. It's kind of like you need to buy a new car and you have a family, so you need to buy a family car. But yet you find yourself towing a trailer occasionally or hauling occasionally, so you need a truck. So you compromise and you go buy an SUV. And the SUV will do both jobs adequately, but it won't haul and tow as well as that big diesel pickup that you want, and it won't handle the family and all their luggage and diaper bags and soccer balls, all that kind of stuff, as well as the minivan. So you make a compromise and you buy the SUV. It'll do both jobs. It will haul and tow, and it'll take your family where you need to go, but it's a compromise. It does both jobs adequately, but it doesn't do either job perfectly. We all make compromises. Concealed carry guns, the smaller guns, are a compromise gun. The smaller, lighter type of gun is not fun to shoot. They have a higher recoil. They have a shorter sight radius. They're shorter range guns. You're not going to hit, 100-yard target, with a snub-nosed, 38. Now, if you're Hickok 45, that's another popular YouTuber. Yeah, you can hit, an 80-yard or 100-yard target. Or if you're Jerry Miculek, you can do the same thing. You can hit a 100-yard target with a, water gun. Look those guys up on YouTube. They're very good. But that's okay, because again, going back to all of the crime statistics, you discover that most crimes against persons, physical assault, violent type of attack, generally happens within 7 yards, 21 feet. So a small, lightweight, easy concealed gun is more than adequate for those types of short distances. And a lot of times in an attack situation, you're not even going to pull the gun up, and aim through the sights. Guys coming at you with a tire iron about to club you over the head. The last thing you're going to do is say, "Sir, when you get to 10 yards, stop, and let me get my gun up, and let me get sighted in." As soon as I get a good sight on you, I'll nod my head, and you can, start running at me again, and I'll start firing. That's not going to happen. If you're in an attack situation, you're going to pull that gun up, and you're going to just start, throwing down rounds in the general direction of the bad guy. Okay, that's just the way it's going to be. Something else you need to consider for concealed carry. A lot of guys will have their ideal dream gun. A lot of guys are big 1911 guys, or Glock fan, or 6 Hour, or some of the custom guns, Dan Wesson, or maybe even some of the like Kimber, maybe, perhaps. And some of those guns can be very expensive. Some of those guns can be anywhere from $700-800 all the way up to $2,500, $3,000, just depending on what it is. So purchase price is important too, but it's important for more than one reason. Your concealed carry gun is going to be a gun that gets a lot of wear and tear. Going in and out of the holster, especially a Kydex holster, is going to scratch a gun. Even a leather holster is going to put fine scratches in a gun. We all know. I mean, you've done it every day. It's like you're getting in your car and you go grab the car door and you open the car door and you get your coffee in this hand, or you're trying to control your child or something, get your child in the car or something like that. And you bang into the car. Or you trip on your kid's toys when you're going up the stairs, and you hit the staircase or the banister or something like that. Your concealed carry gun is going to take all those hits. And when you're working with the gun, when you're disassembling the gun, you're cleaning it or whatever, the more you clean it, the solvents you use to clean your gun, are going to cause wear and tear on the finish as well. The more you practice with the gun is going to cause wear and tear on the gun as well. Your concealed carry gun is going to get a lot of wear and tear. So if you want to go out and spend $1,500, $2,000 on a super nice gun that you're really, really proud of, just so you know, the gun's not going to stay pretty, especially if you go shoot it a lot. So take that into consideration. Some of the considerations are cost of ammo. The most affordable, again, I'm not going to get into the caliber wars. I'm not going to get into, you need to buy a 40, you need to buy a 9. I'm not going to even touch that right now. But the most affordable calibers of ammunition are going to be your 22 long rifle and your 9mm. Those are going to be the most affordable ammo. If you're going to go to the range and practice with a couple hundred rounds, one of those two calibers is going to be the most affordable ammunition that you can use. So cost is a big deal. Also, availability of holsters. So do a little bit of research ahead of time. So if you decide you want a Glock, or if you want a SIG, or if you want a Ruger, whatever, well then shop holsters before you go buy that gun, and see what the holsters are going to cost you. And take everything into consideration. That's what I'm saying. Take all the costs into consideration. And again, remember that your small concealed carry guns, the smaller they are, the lighter they are, they're usually going to have more recoil. They're not going to be as fun to practice with. Your larger handguns are easy to grip and hold and aim and sight, and you can be more accurate with them. They're more fun to shoot. Those are good range guns. That's another category of guns, is a range gun. Your concealed carry guns are not going, you need to know that right up front. You need to understand that right up front. Your smaller, lighter concealed carry guns are not going to be fun to shoot. So take that into consideration when you go to the range and you practice. You may practice, you may get off 100 rounds, 50 rounds, 200 rounds, and your hand's probably going to be sore. Maybe that gun has a lot of snappy recoil to it, so be prepared for that, okay? I had a relative of mine, when I started concealed carrying, again, I bought a smaller, lighter, small gun, and he used to make fun of me all the time. He's like, man, you need a Springfield armor, you need this 40 caliber. He had this big, heavy gun. He still has it, and he hates carrying it because the thing weighs like 10 pounds, and it sticks out of his pants. You can, just about everything he wears, he just about has to wear a sweater or a coat to cover it up. He used to make fun of me a lot when man, that's a girl gun, that's a sissy gun, and I used to tell him back then, dude, come talk to me when you get tired of carrying that brick around in your shorts. And he did. He got tired of carrying that brick around in his shorts, and he's always talking about selling that thing and buying a smaller gun. And anyway, so just something to consider. You need to consider cost, philosophy of use. You need to consider size and weight. You need to consider, cost of accessories, holsters, the cost of ammunition. You take all those things into consideration. You need to consider, the purchase price of the gun, because it's going to get wear and tear on it. Don't go out and buy a $2,500, trophy gun, Dan Wesson or something like that, or a, STI brand or something like that, and think you're going to want to carry that thing every day, because you're not. You get the first few scratches in that gun, or maybe you, God forbid, you accidentally drop it. That happens. And you ding it or something like that, or you bang into, trip and fall, and bang into something, and now you got this nasty scratch in your super expensive gun. Take those things into consideration. Okay. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me. Like I said, I'm way more engaging and way more intelligent when I type than I am in person. Sorry. Hope you found this entertaining. This should be the first in some different series of videos that I want to do. So more to come. George, hope you enjoyed it. Bye.